In this section, we will go over various delineations for stormwater management. Our first example is how to delineate major substantial improvement. As a reminder, major substantial improvement is based on the whole building footprint, even if only a portion of the building is being renovated. In the example on the right, only what is labeled LOW, limit of work, here, is being renovated. But if stormwater management is triggered for the entire building, the whole building footprint is used to calculate the stormwater retention volumes of this whole building. In this plan, they show the whole building footprint and the property line and differentiate where they are working with an LOW line. This next example shows the delineation when there is major substantial improvement and major land disturbing activities. We're looking at an existing building that's being renovated with an internal courtyard that's being disturbed. This designer chose to show the major substantial improvement with a dark gray, and then the major land disturbing area in the middle as white. Also included here are land cover types, which really only applies to major land disturbing activity. They show the 825 square foot of compacted cover as this grass hatching, and also 2,165 square feet of bioretention as this hatching. And then everything else is impervious. As a plan reviewer, they will go and check to make sure these numbers, these areas, match the information on the data compliance sheet, which is pulled out here. And in fact, the compacted cover and the BMP covers do match what is on the plans. For this next example, we are looking at delineations for contributing drainage area, land cover type, and vehicular access area. Now, contributing drainage area is the area that goes into a BMP. This designer chose to show a view that only includes contributing drainage area, land type, and vehicular access area, which is very helpful for a plan reviewer. The CDA is the subdrainage area, is labeled as a subdrainage area for this example. The legend shows how each item is represented, and a chart below, here we go, shows the actual areas of each delineation, including natural cover, compacted cover, impervious surface, vehicular access, and the BMP. The chart also shows the pre and post land cover areas. For very complicated plans, this view might be a little bit difficult to understand, so it works a bit better for simple plans like this one. Next, we pulled out some examples from the Stormwater Guidebook. This is an Appendix W if you want more examples. Site drainage areas tend to be commonly misunderstood, so we wanted to review this topic. What is shown here is a project outlined with the LOD. This is dotted line here. Everything within the LOD is part of a site. This site happens to have 4 site drainage areas, so let's look at site drainage area 1. There are 2 pipes coming out of the site, cross over the LOD line, but then come together and become one single pipe. Then this single pipe crosses over the lot boundary and leaves the lot into another lot or public right of way as one pipe. There is a distinct point right here at which the pipe leaves the property. Because the pipes combine before leaving this property, this lot boundary line, it can be considered one site drainage area. So let's look at site drainage area 2. Here we have sheet flow coming off of the property towards the same direction. This whole site drainage area of sheet flow would be considered a separate site drainage area. Let's say there's another site drainage area that sheet flows in the other direction. That would be a different site drainage area. So let's look at next site drainage area 3 and 4. At site drainage area 3, 2 pipes are in the LOD and they combine and leave the LOD as one pipe. Then they leave the lot boundary as one pipe. This whole thing is one site drainage area. So for site drainage area 4, there's a pipe that comes out of the LOD, comes out of the property line as one pipe. These 2 pipes eventually at some point connect to a common pipe outside of the lot, even though they ultimately connect to the same pipe because they leave the property as separate pipes. They are considered separate site drainage areas. So in total, this site has 4 site drainage areas. If you're working on multiple lots at once, the idea is pretty much the same, except your site is the external boundary of the lots you're working on. So let's just say this is different lots. It's the whole lot boundary of all of the lots is considered your site. If you're working on campuses, the site drainage area changes a bit. The extent of your site is now the LOD, not the lot boundary. So you determine the site drainage area based on each pipe leaving the LOD, not the property. So compared to the previous example, this campus example has one more site drainage area due to this section over here, where there are 2 different pipes leaving the LOD, therefore making them 2 separate site drainage areas. Next, I will go over some real examples of how designers depicted different delineations on their plans. In the example on the slide, we see 3 different site drainage areas with different hatching and color. So you have this blue one, this red one, and this green one. You can also see the information on the legend to the right. So the things to check are that the entire LOD is delineated into site drainage areas. So this darker line here should all be the LOD. Next would be to make sure that each site drainage area either sheet flows to the same direction or flows out of the site through the same pipe. In this example, all of this blue area drains to the west and out a pipe over here, leaving the property in one storm drain. Then site drainage area 2 down here flows south, and then site drainage area 3 over here flows to the east. And then the BMPs are shown in gray. So next here is the same project, but showing the contributing drainage area to the BMPs. So we have 2 BMPs, a rectangle one on the left here, and then an L-shaped one on the right. The color and the hatching show all of the area that will drain into that specific BMP and also the corresponding legend. The plan reviewer will make sure that all of this water will in fact drain into the BMP. So if there are any storm drains or grading that might be needed to depict that the water will in fact go into the BMP, make sure that information can be found on the plans. Additionally, you may notice that the blue rectangle on the top left here was not actually part of the site drainage area in the previous slide. This is because you can have drainage outside of your site drainage area if it is from the same property. So the contributing drainage area is actually bigger than the LOD because this is still the same property. You can look at Appendix W for more details on this. This next example shows a common mistake of site drainage areas and contributing drainage areas. The dotted black line shown here is the limits of the contributing drainage area. So this is what drains to the BMP here, and then this one. The thick gray dotted line here is showing the site drainage areas. The purple line here is showing the LOD. Now there are 2 things wrong with this example. First, part of the site drainage area here is outside of the LOD. And then secondly, part of the LOD right here, this blue area, is not part of any site drainage area. So all site drainage areas should be within an LOD, and everything within the LOD should be part of a site drainage area. Next here we have the corrected version of this plan. The LOD got moved to delineate the same outline as the site drainage area. So now every site drainage area is inside the LOD, and all of the LOD is within at least one site drainage area. Another thing to note is that for this example, the contributing drainage area is also outside of the LOD because it's the same property draining to a BMP within the site. So here is another example of delineating the site drainage area and contributing drainage area together. We'll first look at the first 3 boxes. This is depicting one site drainage area that has been divided into 3 separate sub-drainage areas. The sub-drainage areas are actually the contributing drainage area in this situation. So we can see the contributing drainage area to each BMP within a site drainage area. And then the listed information of the proposed and existing land cover type and size. So let's look at the next box here. We see a separate site drainage area 2. This is separate from the other 3 because the area here sheet flows off of the property, therefore is a different site drainage area. The last box here shows the 3rd site drainage area, which is in the public right-of-way. The public right-of-way should always be its separate site drainage area, and there can be multiple of them. This way of showing site drainage area and contributing drainage area can be very easy for the reviewer to understand and see. It's easy to match the contributing drainage area and land cover with the compliance data sheets, and it can be pretty easy to show the exempt areas. But there are limitations with this example, since it's difficult to confirm the actual contributing drainage area without flipping to the grading sheets or other plan sheets. It is also difficult to accurately measure the contributing drainage area on the PDF because the scale is small. So this works for simple projects where drainage is easy to see, but may be a little bit difficult for more complex projects. So to summarize the delineations that you should include on your plans are the difference between major substantial improvement and or major land disturbing, the contributing drainage area to the BMP, the various site drainage areas, and then the land cover type pre and post construction for all site drainage areas and contributing drainage areas. When it comes to major substantial improvement or major land disturbing is based on the LOD. And major substantial improvement is based on the whole building footprint, even if only a portion of the building is being renovated. Make sure you show the delineation between the 2 if there are both on the plans and the total area of each. In terms of contributing drainage area, that is the area that drains into a BMP, and make sure that on the plans it's clear that that area will in fact drain into that BMP. And then areas that drain from outside the property line may be able to be certified for SRCs, but they can't count for on-site retention requirements. And more information on that is in Appendix W. For site drainage areas, they have to be within the LOD for major land disturbing or the building for major substantial improvements. For the MS4, 50% of the stormwater retention volume for each site drainage area must be retained or treated, and 50% of the stormwater retention volume from the entire vehicular access area must be treated. If the LOD includes a public right-of-way, it must achieve the stormwater retention volume to the maximum extent practicable. More information on that can be found in Appendix B. And then the land cover type pre and post construction for all site drainage area and contributing drainage area should be shown. So showing the natural, compacted, impervious, and BMP cover.